Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm taking the dis out of disability in a whole new way. My name is Mr. Stephen, and you're watching Keeping Up with Mr. Stephen.
We are going to explore the
past, present, and future of
Intellectual and developmental disabilities in the United States of America.
For centuries, people with disabilities have been cast aside,
Hidden, ignored, and ridiculed.
It is insane to me that so many people I talk to have never interacted
With anyone who has an intellectual disability. Some people haven't even seen a person with an intellectual disability in real life. It was not too long ago that
babies with intellectual disabilities or physical deformities
were sent away
to live in institutions.
parents did not want to deal, they didn't know how to deal,
or they were just ashamed. There are definitely live-in facilities to this day,
and there are definitely horrible things that go on in some of these places.
but it is nothing like it was before.
Institutions back in the day
Or
were
hardcore.
People with these kinds of differences were locked up,
sometimes in one big room with nothing to do,
some of them tied up.
some naked,
They would live in each other's pee and poop.
literally.
and they would waste away in these miserable places that were not even suitable for criminals.
There was a lot of advocating and exposing that went on before these businesses were
Shut down.
Since then,
The government definitely keeps a closer eye on facilities for people with intellectual disabilities.
Special education is actually a thing.
and people are beginning to talk about ways to be more inclusive, but there's still so far to go. People with special needs were only allowed to attend public school,
But the general public within the last few decades.
including them in the general education classes.
Is really new.
As a special education teacher in one of the most liberal cities in America,
There are still so many teachers, administrators,
And staff,
who are extremely prejudiced and/or
very uneducated,
to this day,
You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Because of this, my job requires me to advocate on such an extreme level that I might as well carry a sign on a stick and chant in front of the school while walking myself in circles.
It's been a long and hard road for this population, and the journey is not even close to over.
If you really think about it, these people are challenged in ways that no other minority group is challenged. People with disabilities think differently.
They understand the world differently.
They understand themselves differently.
Their capacity for learning is often far below average. Their response to the world is sometimes unusual.
And probably the worst part is that so many people perceive them as,
mistakes.
therefore, not as valuable, not as human as the rest of us. Unlike other minority groups in America who are able to organize, advocate, cause change without a lot of outside help, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities cannot do this alone. This puts them at a tremendous disadvantage. People with mild disabilities can and do cause change in a lot of ways, but those with moderate to severe disabilities are often left behind. They need us, people with and without disabilities, who are fortunate enough to have the skills that many of them lack. We need to be the voice to speak out when they cannot speak,
The legs to march when the wheelchairs meet the staircase.
The writers of speeches, the policymakers,
creative partners, teachers, allies.
And more than anything else,
We need to be the friends to love them when the rest of the world pushes them aside. Throughout history, people with disabilities have endured horrendous treatment and heartbreaking abuse. They are definitely an easy target, and they don't always understand when something wrong is being done to them. This is why such a high percentage of people with disabilities are taken advantage of,
ripped off,
Excluded,
sexually molested,
raped, and this includes boys, girls, men, women, and for those people who are not able to use spoken language to communicate, they cannot give consent, deny consent, or tell anyone if something bad were to happen, even if they wanted to. There has definitely been progress for this population, but it's moving at such a
slow pace.
People with intellectual and developmental disabilities are some of the only people
who continue to experience regular, unpunished, prejudice, oppression, and segregation in not so subtle ways.
and in some cases, in a 1960s fashion. These people are definitely not the only people, but they are one of the few populations in America who continue to experience frequent prejudice, oppression, and segregation, frequent as in all the time. And the people who are inflicting this prejudice, oppression, and/or segregation are not being held accountable. In 2018, this is still happening in non-subtle ways, which means that people are not even making an extreme effort to hide their prejudice or judgment. We see this all over the media and in the communities that we live in. The R word is still as popular as ever. Special education is usually the last priority in any school district. Unexpected behaviors in public places,
such as the grocery store, restaurants, shopping malls,
are more often than not met with angry stares and looks of disgust. And the prejudice is coming from people of every
size, race, age, shape, gender, preference.
It is absolutely not okay. The goal is obviously to fit in. But just like every other group in the history of America, we need to stand out before we can fit in. So the question is, how do we keep this movement moving? If you have questions or comments related to intellectual or developmental disabilities, or if you just want to keep on keeping up, then you can find me online at Facebook/Mr. Stephan Official. You can like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube by searching Keeping Up with Mr. Stephan, or you can visit my website at mrstephanofficial.weebly.com for even more ways to keep up. If you like the music featured in this episode, that's great. It's me. You can visit my music site, links to all of my social media under my stage name Evan Torres at evantorres.weebly.com. Look out for my first ever full-length album, Till the Wheels Fall Off, in spring 2019.